Okay.
And, and, and then what
So
you do at the end, you format it so into an MP4.
okay. So everybody agree that I record?
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
So should I start now?
Yeah, well, we got 10 people. Let's start. See
Okay.
who's going to join us. It's a good rehearsal, one way or the other.
Okay. I like to be rehearsed anyway because this is an important topic. I really want to do more education. So I think the reason I connect with Shell is that I met him at a full meeting. Um, I really appreciate Shell and also Dr. Joseph come to my booth. And one of the thesis, they said that this is very meaningful. And also Dr. Joseph expressed his frustration in a way he thinks that, one way when he treat patients and the outcome plateaus, even they tried all the clinic solution that are available on the market, but patients' outcome does do not improve. So when I say iron and iron imbalance may play an important role, then he claims that maybe that's the missing link for this. So that's how I think we connected with this now. And we made a lot of improvement in treating different aging disease. I mean, antioxidants are the most widely used technology to fight aging. And then now people talk about hormone optimization. And, we talk about botanical hormones instead of animal hormones. Then we have all these biologics and regenerative therapies. But again, persistent inflammation and then slower recovery, etc. And that's going to be we have these problems. And I think Dr. Joseph just joined.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
thank
Hopefully, I
you.
didn't miss too much because I was finishing up doing an apheresis for a patient.
Now,
So,
is this my second slide?
oh, is this the second slide? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. What was the first slide?
Oh, first of all, just the title, so you didn't miss anything. So I was just talking about my conversation with you and about the plateau outcomes over time. And I know you care about patients. You also got frustrated, when we have all the treatment, but outcome does not improve. And I said maybe because of iron. So I think the possibility is how the body handles iron, not deficiency, but excess and distribution. And I think that's where I want to show you this. So before I really go into the whole my talk, iron, is really the most abundant transition metal. Why this is called transition metal? Because on the left side of the periodic table, there are all metals, and on the right side there are non-metals. So they are in between. That is transition. And transition characteristics is very easy to receive or donate an electron. So that's become very oxidation and reduction, we call redox active. And that's why we use this in the body to carry oxygen. And the body has about 4 grams of iron. Uh, so as compared to, let's say, copper, zinc, and really copper in the body is about 80 milligram, and iron is 4,000 milligram, so it's about 50 times more. Copper is about 2% of iron, but compared to sodium, calcium, magnesium, etc., it's relatively less. But because this is a transition metal, so it's very, very essential for our life. So iron is essential. Don't get it wrong. We need iron, and without iron, we cannot survive. But iron is a double-edged sword. Iron deficiency, because iron is essential. If we don't have enough iron, then we're iron deficient. And iron deficiency is known for more than 200 years. So we have a conception, iron is good for you, so the more is better. But actually, my study shows it's not. Excess iron and can cause aging and can contribute to disease. So why iron is essential? Well, because that iron is involved in many enzymes. We call heme enzymes, and like oxygenase, hydrogenase, you name it. Then you have also hydroxylates. That is for other regulation that is newly discovered. And then you have also aconidates, really is a sensor system for iron, to sense how much iron you have, how much do you need. So it's through all this IRP, IRE, and aconidates. Then also iron is good for electron carriers. We're talking about this iron sulfur cluster. That's part of IRP. We call it iron regulated protein mechanism. Then ferritin, transferrin receptor 1, myoglobin, hemoglobin, all different proteins. But tonight, I only talk about two molecules, hemoglobin and ferritin. But 80% of my talk is on ferritin. And I think this is very, very important. I'll tell you why. And the other word is hepcidin. That is the iron hormone. So hemoglobin, I think, is very simple, but it's very rich. 75% of iron is in hemoglobin, and it transports oxygen from lung to other tissues. And you see how important. And we all know that one hemoglobin can contain 2 molecules for iron. So it's 1 hemoglobin for 2 iron. Then now I'm talking about ferritin. Ferritin is like the 7th bank of iron in our body. It contains about 4,500 atoms of iron per molecule of ferritin. And it is an antioxidant because it can sequester iron. But also it can serve as a pro-oxidant because of a result of iron release. And it has 2 subunits. We call it heavy chain and light chain. Briefly, it's called H and L chain. And it's also ubiquitous. It's everywhere, in every tissue we have. So basically, when we know all this, but I think this is your take-home message. I really want you to get it, that ferritin, in the medical community, ferritin has a huge or broad range that we define from 18 to 199, 20 to 299 as normal range. When ferritin is in that range, we still call normal. But like glucose is very narrow, it's between 70 and 100. Why we have such broad range of ferritin? And so tonight we're not going to talk about iron deficiency. Everybody here knows iron deficiency. I'm not going to talk about overload. Is when iron above 300 or 200. That is really disease state. So I'm talking about the high normal that is above 100, and that I call excess. And in this case, and I think real take-home message is that optimal ferritin is closer between 30 and 100, and above 100, well, actually is going to cause it's going to have a high impact on our health. And here, mostly I would mention aging. Why? This is one study showed by my peer, Dr. Leo Zagarsky, who worked in Dartmouth College. And this is a very complicated slide. And I promise this is the only complicated slides I have tonight. So what he did, I think is phenomenal, is that this is about 9,000 people. And I think it's approximately 6,000 diabetic people. And 3,000 is diabetic, 6,000 is non-diabetic, normal people. What basically he found is that this is ferritin, and this is the hemoglobin, and this is called the loss plot. And what he found is that when ferritin is below 100 or below 80, to be more exactly, that it supports hemoglobin formation. And once it's above 100, and ferritin keep rising, but hemoglobin is saturated, then what does this increased ferritin above 100 do? And his conclusion is that causing problem, cause adverse health effects. Then let's talk about another study showed with 28,000 population, 28,000 people. So in total, it's about 4 million person year follow-up. And what they found is that increased risk of developing type 2 diabetics. A relationship observed across all multiple iron markers, that including ferritin, transferrin saturation, serum iron. Then let's look at another study that with kidney dialysis patient. And in this study, there's only 90 patients, but they really divided into two groups. One ferritin is above 100, one ferritin is below 100. And then they compare the follow-up this patient for 9 years. And they found out that patients with ferritin above 100 have a much lower survival rate as compared to the ferritin below 100. But again, here, so the conclusion is that high ferritin group in this cohort had 4 times higher risk of poor outcome as compared to the lower ferritin levels. But this is only 90 patients, so it may not be significant. But look at this study with 2,600 dialysis patients, and they found that, interesting, that this is a U shape, that one ferritin below 50 or ferritin above 100, they are all associated with higher mortality. So the moderate range, 50 below 100, shows the lowest risk. So this is a U-shaped curve with outcome. But most interesting is here. But if you have high inflammation, it becomes a linear relationship. And that U-shape is disappeared. So you can see that optimal ferritin appear to lie in the moderate range. And so it's 50 to 100. But inflammation can mask this relationship. So I think when you treat your patient, we have to consider, or we have to take into consideration of inflammation. And here we talk about patients, what about normal population? So there's a large study. I think this is very significant. I want you to see that if your ferritin is above 600, the median age of that group is about 55 years old. And if it's 400 to 599, becomes 72 years. 200 to 300, 76 years old. And if it's below 200, the median age is 79 years old. Once I say median age, the age they die. And you can see that there's also a dose response that between higher ferritin and higher mortality. So in this case, is that high ferritin level consistently track with poor outcome and shorter lifespan. So now we understand iron is not just about iron deficiency. Excess iron may be the missing factor in aging and inflammation and metabolism. Of course, from what I showed you, doesn't really make that conclusion. But I think it's the next part, I will show you how this can be an important factor. So the question is this: if excess iron is part of the problem, the next question is where is that iron? Where is that iron? And also because we typically measure iron in the blood, but iron is not always well measured. That means tissue, and it may be redistributed and accumulate in tissue. And I think that's a question that we discussed a lot last week, about all this. So I have let's talk about the distribution absorption first. This is a very typical slides that how iron is absorbed. The body cannot synthesize iron, so all the iron has to come from where we eat. Of course, smoking is different. Smoke is different. You can get iron from smoking. So you can see that iron is, our body has 10 to 20 milligram of iron. We absorbs about 1 to 2 milligram per day. It could be more, depends if you are genetic mutations or not. And it goes to the transferrin. I didn't talk about transferrin tonight, but transferrin, you all know, is iron transport protein. It transfers iron from the blood to different tissues. So you can see that most of iron is in hemoglobin. And 5 to 15% go to the enzymes, we call heme enzymes. And the remaining goes to the ferritin and it's excess iron. But important thing here is that there's no physiologic, I went too fast with this one. But there's no physiologic excretion mechanism except skin desquamation. And this paper was published in 1999. At that time, hepcidin was not discovered. And now hepcidin is called an iron hormone. It's acting like, any other hormones, testosterone, estrogens. Hepcidin is a hormone to controlling body iron homeostasis. And it plays an important role in iron absorption. And how, we said that now other physiologic excretion mechanism, and really the two major iron excretion mechanism is through desquamation. That is part of the skin, and also part of mucosa, the colon. We also lose epithelial cells. But in women, I will not talk about tonight. In menopause, is that the menstruation actually help to really get rid of excess iron. So how do we know iron is excreted through the skin? I mean, this is a very important question, and I think we should know this. So this was done in 1965, and at that time we can still do called crazy studies. Why I call crazy? Because this Dr. Winthrop, he injected radioactive iron through IV, intravenous, into the body. Then he followed the subject for 100 days through whole body counts. And he found out that the radioactive iron lose about 74%, about 25% over 100 days. Then he collect urine and he collect stool. But the accumulated stool radioactive iron accounts about 8%. Then he questioned where the other 16% go. is end up in the skin. And he published several papers, and I think this is the most important one that I showed here. And you can see that iron is excreted through the skin, and there's not really very active iron pathway to get rid of iron. So you can imagine the older we get, the more iron is in our body. And more than that, is that our skin turnover is 26 days, but the half-life of iron in the skin is 60 days. So that skin turnover is faster, but iron stays in the skin longer. So over time, there is an accumulation of iron in the skin. So what does iron do? Well, here it was published in 1999 by my friend and also collaborator, Dr. Charare Puzan. So what she showed is that with UVA, a normal day dose of UVA or UVB, and one ferritin is exposed to this UVA, UVB, ferritin is degraded. And you remember that one ferritin contains 4,500 or up to 4,500 atoms of iron. I think in normal subject, the saturation is about 1,300 atoms of iron per molecular ferritin. And you can see that when you go under the sun, you have photoaging. Why? It's because that UVA causes ferritin degradation. You release large amount of iron, then it causes oxidative stress, and then can lead to collagen breakdown, wrinkles, thinning, wrinkles, fine lines, skin thinning, and even pigmentation. And here is from my own lab. And we grow cells. This is the primary human dermal fibroblast. We grow in 3 environments: control, premenopausal condition with high estrogen, and postmenopausal condition with high iron and low estrogen. Then we measure MMP1 activity, and you can see that MMP1 is significantly increased in the environment with high iron. And for the sake of time, I did not show the data that by treating this with iron chelation, iron chelator, we can bring down the MMP1. So this data show that iron react with UVA and synergistically enhance a MMP1 called matrix metalloproteinase 1, but it's more known as collagenase 1. What does it do is to eat old collagen. So initially cause wrinkles. That long term, it causes skin thinning. So here we have to think about it. All the dermatologists talk about how important sunscreen. Blocking UV is very important. But also here shows that you manage iron may be as important. And that's why I developed a skincare line that to target iron in the skin. So how do I do it? How do I manage this clinically? And I mentioned, like this, that in most of studies, the most widely used is antioxidants. There is a reason for that, because all these ROS, we call reactive oxygen species, originated from iron. And through Fenton reaction that was discovered in 1890, then through the Haber-West reaction. So here iron really is a catalytic. So it's a small amount can amplify this hydroxyl reactive oxygen species formation significantly. And this was discovered in 1938. So that's the base, that you use antioxidants to neutralize oxidants, but this is only after the form. But iron is still there. It can continuously produce oxygen-free radicals, and you can consume all antioxidants. And once you consume, you see a plateau because no longer works anymore. The most effective way, in my opinion, is to remove iron from the skin. In a way, you stop oxidation. Then it's much better. How do we do this? So so we have to understand this, and I mentioned this before. So if in practice, ferritin is a primary marker we use to assess excess iron, but sometimes people say ferritin is antioxidant by design. It can sequester iron safely, but under stress, it can become pro-oxidant by releasing iron. So what we have to do is really to reverse the pro-oxidant state of ferritin back to the antioxidant state. So in this case, then we are reverse aging, and so we feel younger. So the question is, can we intervene before ferritin becomes a source of iron-mediated damage? I think the answer is yes, and if we understand the chemistry. So here just to show you, from reactive to proactive. When I say reactive is antioxidants. So the antioxidants now is really the common therapy for anti-aging. It's a downstream approach. It neutralizes reactive oxygen species, but it does not take the source away. And so now if we can have a way that we target iron, so we can reduce level of catalytic iron, then you can limit ROS formation. So we're working on the upstream. So in this case, it's more prevention oriented. So it's a better approach, in my opinion. That's how it is. This is a ferritin I simplified, that it has H chain, light chain, and it contains a lot of iron. And remember, under environmental stress, UV and other stresses, and we talk about as a functional doctor, under love stress. And I think ferritin is like a sponge. And stress, when you squeeze, iron is going to be leaked. So you cause a lot of iron here and of ROS formation, reactive oxygen species. But if you use a DRI, you get rid of iron inside, then you can reduce a lower ROS formation. How do we do this? This is a patent technology. So in skincare, what I do is I use vitamin C, which is very commonly used and is a very powerful reducing agent. Ferritin can only hold ferric iron, Fe3+. It cannot hold ferrous iron. So you use vitamin C to reduce iron from Fe3+ to Fe2+. So when this iron is released, then I use pearl powder. That's a softer form of calcium carbonate. And I hope you remember calcium carbonate. I mentioned that I learned from occupational medicine from Western coal mines, Utah, Colorado. It has a lot of calcium carbonate. It prevents iron from becoming bioavailable. How do you do that? Actually, it's very simple. It's through ion exchange. So when iron is released, calcium carbonate absorb ions and release calcium in return. So that iron carbonate is not water soluble, but calcium is beneficial to the skin. So that reaction becomes irreversible. And when you wash off, when you wash your skin, you just wash your iron out of your skin, and your skin become clean. By reducing this availability of catalytic iron, then your skin is much better because it has much less oxidant formation. Do I have the proof of this? Well, I did a study. So this is blank. This is a iron complex. This iron dipyridyl. just to show similar to ferritin, so I can visually demonstrate. So this is a cream that we have. It's called age disrupting skin cream, and that's also a blind. So this is a mixture of this and this. So it's 0 hour, and you still see pink color. After 48 hours, all the iron is gone, so it becomes white. This is all other commercial available skincare products. They cannot do it as powerful as our cream. But this is really chemical test tube results. Then we extend to the primary human dermal fibroblast. So here just to show you, DEBI is used to show the nuclear DNA. So this is a control, and we induce ferritin with iron sulfate, and you can see more color. This is we call it green fluorescence protein labeled ferritin, and we observe this under fluorescence microscope. Then we have our own DRI, meaning the iron rising inducer that we patented, and you can see that much less ferritin, and this is a overlay of this and this to show this, it's stem cells, it's live cells. So we also, but that's really laboratory results. We did 4 clinical trials. Here just to show a summary that this through the questionnaire. And you can see that the early effects is that hydration and softness, people feel approximately 197, 3 days, then 100% throughout the study up to 6 weeks. Then smoothness and brightness, midterm, we can see elasticity, firmness, improvement, skin tone, pore appearance, then structure improvement, then fine wrinkles, etc. So there's consistent improvement across hydration, texture, tone. I don't think I have enough time to go every single, but the paper is under peer review by the International Journal of Women's Dermatology. And once this become available, and I can show you later. And here just show a few pictures that you can see that skin tone is beginning, and over 6 weeks of that it improved very significantly. But this is over time and under the same light conditions. And here just to show you before and after. This is before and this is after. But again, we also did third-party expert grading, just independent. We also did all the instrumental analysis to show the quality and the health of the skin is significantly improved. So now I want to just transition a little bit. I think this is more probably relevant to your practice, is from skin to systemic. What does serum ferritin reflect? And so in serum ferritin, in clinical practice, is a primary marker for iron status, but we don't pay that much attention. And I think even in regular checkup, ferritin is not measured. Then it reflects circulating iron storage, but also influenced by inflammation. But limitation is does not really reflect tissue iron distribution. And iron may be retained in tissue despite normal levels. And here, the most important thing is functional availability is not equaling total iron you have. But in practice, I think is when we heard about iron deficiency or anemia, we always recommend iron tablets, over-the-counter tablets. Does it really help? I'm not sure. So the conclusion here is that how we measure iron in blood may not reflect where iron resides in tissue. Why? So here I just want to show you one slide. This is a very important slide. I hope that I can convince you. It's also a take-home message. So for example, like premenopausal woman, serum ferritin is about 30 to 35 nanograms per ml. In postmenopause is about 70 to 75 nanogram per ml. But when you use these units, it's very hard to compare with tissue. Tissue is more of nanogram per milligram of protein. So then I looked at the literature. The serum total protein is about 60 to 80 milligram per milliliter. But if we convert this to a per mole protein levels, it's about 0.4 nanograms per milligram in blood in premenopausal women, but 1 in postmenopausal woman. Then I did a study and with skin biopsies. And you can see that in premenopausal women, it's about 400. And here in postmenopausal woman, it's close to 600. And I remember very clearly, I removed an outlier, and that outlier is about 2000. So I did not put in this data. But the key thing is here, you can see skin tissue iron levels about 400 times higher than blood. So we have the question about this, that you have a higher or you have a normal ferritin in your blood. It does not mean that your tissue iron is not overloaded. It's not damaging your skin or damaging your other tissues. So I think this comes to a iron imbalance in aging. So, but sometimes we call this as anemia of chronic inflammation. It's about 35% in elders. And because of that chronic inflammation, it leads to lower circulating iron. So lower iron in the blood, but normal or elevated ferritin in the blood. But the fact that what's happening is that iron is not deficient, and iron is redistributed and trapped in tissues. Why? What is the mechanism? Is that because when you have chronic inflammation, your hepcidin goes up, and hepcidin is iron hormone block iron export. Is like the faucet that when hepcidin is high, you shut off the valve, so the iron cannot flow in your body. So in this case, you have a higher hepcidin, your iron is stuck in the tissue. So in this case, you have lower level of iron in the blood. That's why I say, hey, you are slightly anemic, but you're not iron deficient. Your iron is in the tissue. And in this case, you have really called iron imbalance. So the clinical implication is that blood tests suggest iron deficiency, but tissue may have iron overload. Is iron supplement a solution, or rebalance is a better approach? So my indication here is that iron deficiency in blood can coexist with iron excess in tissue. And if you agree with me, when you treat patients, please think about this. So iron supplementation is not really good for iron imbalance. It's very effective for true iron deficiency, in the sense that your body does not have enough iron. But when in elders with chronic inflammation, iron is already elevated in the tissue, but supplement may not correct the distribution imbalance. So in this case, we have to rebalance. That's the way that I was thinking, and I was developing solution for that. So we think it a little different. Is that we reduce inflammation, so we reduce hepcidin. So in this case, you open the faucet, iron start to move. Then in this case, that your iron is more balanced, and the benefit is that you have less inflammation, less oxidative stress, you have less tissue burden, and in this case, you have better skin, you have less pain. If inflammation is somewhere, and you have more energy because your iron available in the blood. And then the overall physical balance is better. And in this case, the end outcome is that the quality of life is significantly improved. Well, I hope that I didn't, I wasn't too bored to you. I come to the conclusion. I think here it's very important to realize that normal ferritin, normal may not be optimal. So wide reference range doesn't equal optimal health. And I think that below, both low and high are associated with risk. And we should have a much narrower range of ferritin, not a broad range like now we have. And it looks like iron accumulation is inevitable and is poorly cleared. I'm sorry to say this, but I think this is the truth. It's because there's no active physiological excretion pathway. I mean, I can talk about all this too because this comes to the mechanism, and this has been done. How iron is pushed out through the skin, and using transgenic mouse models, we can demonstrate how this is done. But the truth is that it's not very effective unless we do increase skin turnover, and that like we use vitamin A, but you make the skin more sensitive to the sun. And I think another take-home message is that broad iron does not reflect tissue iron, and so this is very important. And also, there's more evidence of markedly higher iron in tissues. I did not have time to do a lot of search, but I think I can find it out later. Is to look at the liver, tissue iron level, kidney, heart, brain, and we can do comparison. I mean, there's so many studies showing that iron is associated with diabetes, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, etc. Then here I think it's very important for A4M is inflammation drives iron misdistribution. It's because inflammation increases hepcidin. Hepcidin actually is upregulated, it's increased by interleukin 6, interleukin 1 alpha, TNF alpha, etc. So once hepcidin is increased, iron becomes trapped in tissue, and that can cause imbalance, not simple deficiency. So the take-home message is that when you do your practice is from supplementation to rebalancing. So you don't add more iron, but it's really to restore distribution and equilibrium. We have an edible DII that is also a product. And so instead of focusing on supplementation, I think it's really reduce excess iron, then rebalance it, then prevent downstream damage. So conclusion here is iron in aging is not just a deficiency problem, it is a distribution and a balance problem. Iron is essential, it's a nutrient, but it also can age you. And we normally say is aging is rusting. And thank you so much. So this is my contact information. And if you want to learn more, we have a website. And that's it for tonight. Thank you so much. Should I record the question and Q&A or I
Dr.
can stop?
Yes, we'd like to make your presentation available. And I thought it was an excellent presentation because it opens up new ways of thinking about iron in the body and blood versus tissue, for starters. And Dr. Joseph is on, right?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, I mean your biggest fan is is here, and it's because I don't have any. Let me get settled. I just got back to the office.
I don't have any reason why to be skeptical, because everything you're saying makes perfect sense. In fact, it answers some of the bigger questions as to why the sun is bad, but then the sun is good. You need the sun. Why is the sun bad? Oh, the sun's bad. Well, because it causes cancer. But you never get a straight answer. But when you look at it from a standpoint of iron accumulating in the tissue, and the fact that you said that iron is at sort of the root of oxidative stress, it's really the trigger that leads to the other free radicals. Is that the case?
Yes. That's
According
true.
to the
But
original studies?
well, yes, that's back to the Fenton reaction.
Hold on one second. I can't hear anything. I have to. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, it's through the Fenton reaction that was discovered in 1894.
Okay. And so then we have fortified iron in the food, at least here in the US. We have this increase in skin cancers, which they always say, well, it's the UVA damage. But if iron is the catalyst, or it's the starting point, it's the thing that creates the reaction, and it's accumulating in our tissues, well, then that to me actually starts to complete the puzzle. And then number three, we've got this rise in dementia, especially since 2020 with COVID. And there's some issues that I've come across in my reading that fits. I don't say it, I'm not saying it's proof, but it fits. Yes, there's evidence that there's iron in the air. And yes, there's patents out there that talk about how it can interact with certain frequencies. And also, the one thing that nobody will ever admit, and they will never look under the microscope, no matter how much I tell how important it is, they refuse to look under the microscope to see that the blood is being transformed. It's changing shape, and there is no source of information in the scientific community to explain it. In fact, not even AI it refuses to talk about it. And it's not normal, but nobody will give an answer. And what I see is destruction of red cells under the microscope, which nobody will admit. Nobody will dare look at the microscope. Nobody wants to see the truth at all. And if we are having increased red cell turnover in the blood, if this is the case, that we're having red cell stress and we're having red cell damage, is it possible that that's also contributing to releasing more iron into the bloodstream and contributing to the fact that there is an increased, I would say, increased amount of fatigue and brain fog? Although nobody will admit that they think that they feel fantastic. Although I think they're full of shit. There is a rise in fatigue. There's a rise in dementia. This is a very critical time. I have to be the one to say the icy truth. It drives me crazy, but it's happening. This is a terrible time. We are extremely sick, and how is anything that we do going to work if we have an accumulation of iron happening beneath, under the radar, where, like you said, well, the ferritin's 300, 400. Oh, that's perfectly normal. Oh, it's chronic disease too. They've got a chronic disease, anemia, and of course, there's no knowledge and understanding of hepcidin, and that goes up and stops the release of tissues. So I'm not shy to say that this is absolutely the deal breaker. How can you get better if we ignore the iron? We have no way of getting it out of our system. Yes, I guess there's milk that has C15 or something like that, but I haven't heard of anything that helps to release it from the tissues and assisting with its transfer into the bloodstream and buffering it at the same time. Okay, so for me, it's a no-brainer. It's the absolute most simplest thing. I find no reason to not back up what you're saying as I continue to learn. But I've been in medicine for 35 years. I tell people I didn't do this for 35 years to be a dumbass and to not be able to figure things out. We have enough accumulated knowledge to be able to import the missing knowledge in easy because we have all of the other steps. If iron is accumulating in the brain, it accumulates in the basal ganglia, it accumulates in the skin. Well, of course the skin is going to wrinkle. I mean, it makes perfect sense. In fact, if you look at people's skin when they get older, now you tell me, why does it tend to look gray? Oh, it's got to be anything but iron, of course. Oh no, it's I'm not gonna study anything. I'm not gonna learn anything new, but it can't be iron. Unbelievable. I think we just nailed it. We nailed the missing piece of the puzzle, and we have an opportunity we can treat the skin. No problems. Nobody's going to persecute us for treating the skin. There's a supplement that is designed for the skin, but it may have beneficial, other beneficial properties that help to reduce the accumulation of iron in the body, in the skin. Maybe perhaps reduce certain heart conditions. I know that have you ever heard of iron heart? Okay. And, those organs that iron tends to accumulate in seem to be the organs that tend to have the most issues. Because if it's the pancreas, and again, if iron is the catalyst for the oxidative stress reactions, and the accumulation of iron, it's producing excessive rusting. Is that a contributor to chronic pancreatic inflammation that makes some people more vulnerable for diabetes, maybe depending on their epigenetics? We've got this issue of liver accumulation of iron, which may actually lead to increased chronic pathogens. Now, I'm just saying, could that be the case? Are there pathogens or parasites that actually utilize iron? I don't know. But accumulating iron in the liver doesn't sound like a good thing. Is that a cause of or a big contributor to fatty liver disease? And most importantly, the brain, the ability to think clearly. The fact that most of the chronic fatigue patients that I treat on a regular basis, like I see tons of them all the time. I have to explain to my colleagues, it seemed because our colleagues don't practice medicine that much. They actually hardly see any patients whatsoever. I'm like, well, you might want to listen to the people who actually see the patients over and over, nonstop, all the time, that see all of the chronic disease patients, all of the fatigue patients, all over the country. Nobody knows it better than me because I actually do it. I actually practice medicine. This is clown world. So it might be a good idea to listen to the doctor that actually sees patients and sees chronic fatigue all the time. It's not a rare condition. It's causing top tier athletes, top tier people running businesses, CEOs, people who are excellent are becoming homebound. And nobody wants to see it. Not even our group wants to believe it. They want to pretend everything is perfectly fine, which is utter and complete insanity. And I cannot get these people better because because we're limited. We cannot look. It's like, no, it's got to be this, this, and that, and that's it. We're becoming like the conventional medical system. It's only this. Oh, anything else? Iron? Oh, that can't be the problem. I think it's the biggest problem. After everything I've seen, after how hard it's been to treat these patients, there's no doubt in my mind that this is the missing piece of the puzzle. Why would we ignore it? Now, Dr. Z, you're listening to somebody, this is all coming out. I've had years of frustration. This is real. And that's why I've got no hesitation to say we have to address this issue. This is real. It's not about selling supplements and this and that. No. Look, if we don't do it, we're limited. Why are we limited? Why do we expect billionaires to come see anti-aging doctors if we're going to be ignorant and what can't be iron for whatever reason? I think we're looking at the biggest issue. We've got a chance to do something about it. It's inexpensive. I looked at the prices. I mean, this is a great place to start focusing on this issue of iron and the fact that it may be our biggest hurdle. And for that, I thank you for being, just being who you are. You did the work, you did the studies, even in the early 90s. I'm sure nobody listened to you. Few people maybe, but not really. You've been on this trail since for probably 30 years.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
maybe it's about time we actually appreciate what you've brought to the table and get out of our own arrogance. It's okay that we're wrong. We don't know stuff. And you were brave enough to bring this new information. Well, it's not new, but to put it out there and see if somebody could see it and appreciate it. So that's my truth for today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, you know my style. I can't help myself.
No, I love your style. I think it's very passionate. I'm also very passionate. So
Dr. Z, Dr. Anna Fishbein's online. I don't know if she's on the call, but I do want you to meet her. So we'll take some time and make an introduction. And she is about one of my favorite people when it comes to dermatology. And I thought it was a really good talk. And please give me the video when you have it prepared, and we'll post it and make it available. And then we'll talk to Joel, and Joel will get you on Dr. Clearfield. And we'll schedule, if you want, next week, we'll schedule again. and you could either cover the same presentation or some new things and do a little reference to this one. And we'd be glad to have you. So let me know what your thoughts are. And I thought it was it was really good. I mean, we all enjoyed it.
Well, we- I have so much to talk, but I think this is really serve as a base. If you want, I can repeat this conversation if we have more people. I mean,
Joe, you think we
then
could put it on Dr. Clearfield's Zoom call?
It would we could invite him, yeah, to definitely speak on the Zoom call, and I could talk to Doc to see if we could, once we get the recording, put it underneath the
Yeah, we could put it in your archive too.
on the website. Yeah, exactly.
But basically, like Dr. Joseph said, I mean, it's a new spin, it's a new perspective, and it's very valid. And it kind of, to me, it lends towards individualized treatment. Because, everyone's unique, and you could find a unique balance, and everybody needs a unique balance. And I think there's a lot of benefits by balancing the iron.
But at the same time, we're only so unique. This is hitting everybody super, super freaking hard. And it was like you were just saying, in Africa, they're darn near their average of having babies is more than us. So I believe there are numerous countries who have outlawed our food and our processed food and our supplements and our vaccines and our medicines. And it's like we're in this big old huge Stockholm syndrome, and we don't want to understand that this is going on. And I just got done with a conference, and Bloomberg came out with a statistic that America was 35th out of 40 of the top developed nations in the world for health, for our health and our health care. And
And who spends more money on healthcare?
I understand that, but at the same time, focusing on our health and our health care, it gives you an idea of how bad this has gotten in our country. And we helped the whole world. Some would say we didn't, but I mean, it's just I understand where you're coming from, Dr. Joseph. It's hard being at the VA right now. We have a saying, and it's actually not a saying. It's we put our hand on the Bible, and we swear on the Constitution of the United States of America that we'll defend this country against foreign and domestic. And people don't really understand the level of what that means. And
We have to defend ourselves against ourselves too.
it's conspiratorial. These are actual. That's why there's an actual legal term, conspiracy. It's conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to commit crime, conspiracy to kill, conspiracy of omittance, which kills. And that's where we're at. And we know it. And that's why we're in these groups. And we have to figure out ways to save. It's like the oxygen mask in a plane. We got to save ourselves so we could save our family and our fellow docs and our fellow practitioners and our fellow, our clients and our patients and our family. And it's just, it's
Well, abstractly, we're looking at the future
Joel,
of
look,
humanity.
part of the reason I cannot contain myself is because it's like the military. It's like anything you pledge your life to, a cause. And I could have never have imagined that doing the thing for sacrificing for humanity turns out to be to be punished for that and misled. Like I mean beyond. We don't have to get into it. Beyond. And same thing with the medical profession. I don't know if I'll ever get over it. I don't have a rosy outlook. I'm optimistic by nature, although it doesn't seem like it recently. But I don't know if I'll ever get over the fact that becoming a doctor meant I was the bad guy. And not only that meant that I had to be an idiot
Right.
and I couldn't critically think. And if I did, my life was at risk. I mean, that's just nonsense. And that you're going to be bullied around like a busboy throughout the entire profession, and vilified for everything and anything. Like everything is against you. I'll
Right.
never get over it. And I will never be calm and professional and all that stuff, because I want people to hear authenticity, the truth,
Yes. Yep.
whether they like it or not. I'm not playing the games. I'm not putting on the facade.
Right.
I mean, I'll try to say things in the way that are, not going to draw too much attention, but I can't hold it back. And any opportunity we have, especially when there's something super valuable, like what Dr. Z is bringing, to open up this door, you better believe I'm all in, 100%. I'm not going to sit there and be all critical in this. Whoa, this study and that. So well, that's not validated. Oh, who that? Coming up with every reason under the sun
Right.
why the thing that we need can't be the thing. Forget about it. I'm in. I'm doing it. And also, I'm going to be, obviously offering it to my patients because they need it. What else? What else are they going to do? Okay, so that's where I'm at. I'm not going to pussyfoot around this issue. It's done deal. That's enough evidence for me, because I actually have learned shit throughout my entire career. After 35 years, this adds on to previous knowledge. It's puzzle pieces that fit together.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep.
Doctors are allowed to have intuition. That was enough. That's enough information what Dr. Z put down to make this blatantly clear. Then we can go deeper into it, for our own learning. But for me, done deal.
Well, yes, I mean, I didn't talk about the menopause, how iron, estrogen interact. I didn't talk about gender difference. I didn't talk about how hepcidin is regulated, how, this iron contribute to osteoporosis, Alzheimer's disease. I mean, normally, Dr. Joseph, I teach this at NYU for 10 hours. So this is only, I shortened the OGs into 1 hour. But I think I gave you the most clinic aspect of it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. And well, of course, if you want to do more lectures, I mean, I'd certainly be happy. I'd like to get more people on board so that we can take it, make it worth your time, even if you love to teach this stuff. Perhaps the other groups would be happy to have you on board, but we need representation for your lifetime work for an issue that is being overlooked. And that's just simply the case.
I mean, from a pragmatic point of view, women suffer from, deteriorated, wrinkled skin as they get older. And if you can help them, you're doing something wonderful. I mean, from a pragmatic point of view, that's good. And you can help patients as well. I mean, Dr. Joseph sees things that are chronic. Most of the patients are chronic and advanced stages. They have nowhere else to go, and he helps them. And it's really wonderful to see progress. So,
Yeah.
at a lot of levels, something really good is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the wrinkles, it's a big deal for women. I mean, that's
It's huge.
that's value. That's for them, it's sometimes it's the only value that they have. You
Even
know,
for men who
in
become
this crazy society. Um, but everything for cosmetics, and cosmetics was the bridge between sick, regular medicine and anti-aging medicine. And I still incorporate it, not as much because it's not, chronic disease and what's going on. What's going on is a
Dr.
far
Joseph,
bigger issue.
Dr. Joseph, we could explore the interaction of steroids on skin and iron, and if there's a way to help rejuvenate the skin
Well, I was
by
thinking,
better circulation.
well, exactly. Well, think about it. All of the things that are in cosmetic medicine it's the everything but, everything but the thing, that you could do all these different laser therapies and skin tightening and the copper complex, formulas with all kinds of chemicals that probably do more harm than good. Or we could actually consider where the source is and the reality and the fact that, I have a question now. Uh, Is it possible that iron is also associated with hair loss? Dr. Z, have you come across their,
Yes, yes, there's a lot of evidence. It's
okay.
also iron imbalance. It's iron imbalance.
When you say iron imbalance, are you talking about with the different transporters and
Well,
ceruloplasmin and
yeah, it's a hair follicles.
Yeah.
That skin for the skin, for example, is that the iron in skin is also not distributed evenly. There are more in sweat glands, hair glands, etc. So hair loss is associated with iron. And I think in younger women is more iron deficiency, but in older it's more iron overload. It really is iron needs to be balanced. Too much, too little, they're not good for our health.
Well, yeah, and it sounds like to me like even if somebody has iron deficiency, at least on their blood, it doesn't mean that they are not accumulating iron in their tissues simply because of the imbalance issue and the other contributors to what could be leading to, like you said, you once measured the tissue ferritin levels and it was like 400 times the level of the level in the blood. Now I don't know what that normal is, and it makes me wonder why isn't there a test for tissue iron? And the other thing, do pathogens consume iron? I'm curious, pathogens like because we have all this overgrowth of candida and skin,
Pathogens loves iron.
of course, right?
Yeah, it's gonna help them to grow faster.
Okay. And if this tissue iron is high and we've got overgrowth of the skin biome, there's evidence of malesthesia overgrowth in immunocompromised or older or past the age of 30 or maybe even younger. I'm just throwing out some random numbers.
Hmm.
But it's clear that malesthesia, uh, which is a candidal species, according to the literature, has shown evidence that there is overgrowth. It gets into the hair follicles. It starts to penetrate possibly the skin lymphatics. And we have a neurosurgeon that has done a lot of research showing that it may be the neurotoxins that they release that may be the cause of chronic pain, that they're being activated, and that what they're releasing and they're quorum sensing and they're working in concert with each other through their communication, that it could be the actual cause of neuropathy or most age-related neuropathy that that is the neurotoxins that are being released. There may be playing a big role in complex pain syndromes, small fiber neuropathies, all these syndromes where there's just no answers. Suddenly makes one think, well, do we have this thing happening, iron accumulating over time? It just builds up and builds up and builds up, and then the malesthesia, starts getting their hyphae in there. They like the fat, they love iron, and they start to overgrow, and pretty soon you start to have these sort of issues that start to set in. And what do you do about it? Oh, Lyrica, gabapentin. It's a sick joke. Why don't we look at maybe a nice logical cause? We don't have to wait for everybody, as somebody said, well, how come everybody else isn't talking about it? Because they don't want to think about it. They don't think about that stuff. Somebody's got to think about it first. And I'm perfectly fine if that's us. And if it makes sense, and we have brains and we have critical thinking, then I think we can put two and two together and stop trusting sources that are just articles from anywhere. We know,
Dr. Joseph,
we know better. Yeah.
can I chime in here?
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
No, Dr. Z.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing? This is a
Good.
great presentation, but I have a few questions for you.
Yes.
Since the advent of glyphosate, we see that we have iron deficiency anemia that has gone up a lot. Now, when you talk about iron imbalance in terms of accumulation in the tissues versus in the blood, how do we reconcile the fact that we have chelation of iron so that we're not getting enough iron and iron deficiency anemia is going up? Is it because we lacking it, or the nutrient or nutritional wise we're not getting enough? Or is it because we're sequestering the iron into the tissue that we have this anemia? And how does that work?
Good question. When you talk about iron deficiency anemia, my understanding is true iron deficiency, and that is more relevant in younger and economically less favorable population, young girls. But there's also anemia of chronic disease. Anemia of chronic disease is more in older population.
Right.
And that anemia of chronic disease is not iron deficiency. I think it's iron imbalance. That is more what I talked about tonight. So
So we focus on anemia or chronic disease,
yes,
and the imbalance is the fact that we are sequestering the iron in the tissues, and it's not available for utilization by the red blood cells.
yes, and I think that's a lot of problems, like fatigue. Dr. Joseph mentioned so much of it, and also chronic pain. That once your tissue is trapped in certain inflammation side, you have a lot of fighting there. Oxidative stress, macrophage when there, it causes a lot of chronic pain. So in this case, the quality of life is also significantly reduced. And I have this iron rebalancing capsule that I tested in my lab, really first to reduce inflammation. is very, very powerful in inducing interleukin-6, then hepcidin, the iron hormone. So once iron start to flow, and I have vitamin C to make iron available, then I have curcumins to move iron from overloaded tissue and back into the circulation. And I got a testimonial. I'm not trying to promote my products. Okay, I want to disclose first. But I got testimonial from patient, and she said she is 72 years old, and she cannot use a knife to cut food. Her husband has to help her. But by taking my supplements, she can use her hands and she can cut food again. That's what she put on my website.
Got it. So in terms of ferritin, we know that high ferritin could be an acute phase reactant, right? So if we have too much of it, it doesn't mean hemochromatosis necessarily. It could mean that we have some inflammation going on in the body.
Yes.
Now, those who have sequestration of the iron into their tissues, does that mean they have low ferritin or do they have high ferritin? Because if it's an inflammation that is leading to sequestering the iron into their tissues, then how do we reconcile these two?
That is so your question is really how to distinguish anemia of chronic disease from what?
From
From
inflammation, general inflammation.
yes, well, that's a very, very clinical sharp questions. I don't think we have very good methods for that. One thing we look is the ratio. That's why I didn't talk about how iron is regulated. It's controlled by two. One is at the systemic level, that is hepcidin and ferroportin. I didn't even mention this in my talk. The second one is at cellular level, is by transferrin receptor, we call TFR, and ferritin. So we can look at the ratio of transferrin per ferritin. If it's only because they are opposite regulated. One ferritin is high,
Right.
two iron status, ferritin is high, transferrin receptor is low. Or when iron level is low, ferritin is low, transferrin receptor is high. We can calculate the ratios to determine is this iron related or is this inflammation related?
Okay. Yeah, that's good. At least that clarifies some
Mm-hmm.
of my confusion because I was not quite clear
Mm-hmm.
on how these two come into play.
You need to know us. I'm not trying to scare you, but it's really iron is a nutrient. It's just not a simple nutrient. Actually, it's so strictly controlled under the body, and also how your body senses iron. Do you need it or you don't need it? Of course, the system can be confused by a lot of factors too. So
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of ferritin measures. So are many of the functional medicine providers.
uh,
They check the ferritin, and the ferritin most of the time is low. And based on that, people tend to say, oh, you have low iron stores, so it can give you iron. Your conclusion is this is a mistake. Don't give iron because it could be, if they're older, it could be that the iron is just sequestered in their tissues. Then how do we, so your supplement actually, does it bring the iron back into the blood or how does it work?
yes, so my design is I use a compound called reduxin.
Right, reduction, okay.
Reduction actually is a super inflammation, anti-inflammation nutrient. It is extracted from sorghum from Kentucky.
Okay.
And we tested it.
Organic sorghum, huh? Okay.
I cannot say organic sorghum, but it's just from sorghum that you can reduce inflammation. So
Okay.
once you reduce inflammation, we also show that you reduce hepcidin. Once you reduce hepcidin, your iron gate is open. so iron can flow. But you get it open, it doesn't mean iron is going to come out automatically. So we use vitamin C, everybody knows. You can make iron more bioavailable. But if free iron is not going to travel, it cannot travel, it's too active. So we have curcumin. Curcumin is serving as a transport of the iron released by vitamin C. Then that iron is transported back to the blood, most likely picked up by transferrin. And then that's transported to the bone marrow to make more hemoglobins. So your overall iron level in the tissue is lowered, but your iron level in your blood is elevated. So the result is you have less pain, less discomfort, but more energy. So it really depends the age of people. If it's a female, young, menstrual lady, and that anemia probably is iron deficiency anemia. It's due to true iron deficiency. But in middle age or older, I think it's more of anemia of chronic disease. And I can tell you one, not a human study, but animal studies. If we want to induce iron deficiency anemia in the mouse, we have to start from the birth till lifetime. But if you put the mouse on normal diet for 2 weeks, you cannot induce iron deficiency anymore in the mouse anymore, because the body system has such strong ability to retain your iron once it's inside in your body. Do you know what I mean? So that's very, very powerful. And I think you can see from my talk that the body is not built, designed to excrete iron very, very fast. It's really through skin and mucosa of the colon. And the half-life of iron in skin is 60 days instead of 28 days. So the conclusion is, as we get older, there's more iron accumulated in our body. Where? I don't know. Skin, brain, heart, or pancreas or somewhere. But there's a iron accumulation in our body as we get older.
Has anybody designed a method? You talked about biopsy, skin biopsy, to determine the iron accumulation. Has anybody else determined how we can measure this sequestered iron so then it becomes a better measurement of anemia or chronic disease or something else?
I know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's mentioned in, I forget what his name is. Wrote a book, Marley. His name is Marley Murray, something like that. Wrote a book on iron. Basically his epiphany too was like, wait a minute, you got this iron issue. It's all over the literature if you look for it, and it sounded like to me, I have to go over the book again, that he may have been testing it through hair analysis.
Okay.
Yeah. And all I know is I watched one of his interviews, and he said that his iron tissue levels were something like 1,600 times normal, or it was like way off the charts. Okay. And he's like 70 years old. He's like, first of all, I discovered there's a direct correlation between, risk or morbidity, mortality, and, iron saturation. And that his levels were literally, like I said, off the charts, like 1,600 when it should be less than, who knows, less than 100 or something. He even donates blood as one way to try to help to get the iron balance. I just can't see that there's, with everything that we're going through with the food and the water and the air, I don't know how anybody is, oh, they're just fine, they're healthy. To me, it seems like we need to recognize the fact that this is happening to us, and iron is accumulating. I don't care who the person is, how fantastic they like to lie about how they feel. I don't know how anybody could be optimal. And then we have to listen to, old school 3-year-old advice. So you just eat all healthy and do push-ups. And the food is poison.
I did not feel good. I'm not sure if it's iron or something. No, I did not take it.
Yeah, and then you've got people taking iron supplements. I mean,
Well, I want to put in 2 cents, okay? And when I was going for acupuncture maybe 40 years ago, I learned about Dong Quai. And there's a product called Shou Qi. I'm sure, Dr. Z, you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
And Dr. Marquand and Dr. Ching used to tell me that if you take Shou Qi, it's good for the kidney and it'll keep your hair dark. So there's something interesting in the old time, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. And this is a good, it's a good remedy for energy too. And they say, well, it's cooking wine. And we know quite well there's a lot more to it than just cooking wine, what's in it. And it's been around for a long, long time. And you can find this at almost any Chinese grocery store.
and what is it?
Shou Qi.
But what's the?
It's cooking wine. Well, okay, I'll tell you what's in it.
Well, it's got something that binds to iron, or what's the?
I don't know. It is vitamin A, some kind of calcium, thiamine, niacin, vitamin, iron, riboflavin, some kind of iron, which is probably, Dong Quai, which is a root and an herb that's supposed to be very nourishing. And, they put it together and they sell a ton of it every year.
You done with eating?
Yeah,
And
don't throw it away.
it's good when you make a
I
soup or
couldn't eat it
something.
all.
It's a good ingredient.
Just one bite. Why don't you finish that little
I
bite?
could not do that.
And I would ask Dr. Tano how much iron is in African yam? And what kind of iron?
Shell, I'm not sure about that.
But it's a good question.
It's a good question. I know that the taro roots actually has a lot of minerals than the African yam. So the taro roots, they have different versions. They have bigger ones from Asia, but we're still in grocery stores in the US. And they have the small taro roots. Definitely, that is a mineral-packed succulent that people can eat and increase their mineral levels. African yams, I'm not sure how much iron.
What kind of roots do pregnant women eat in Africa? That's an interesting question.
Well,
Or
but
do
it
they
depends. It
special
depends on
diet?
the region they're in. If in East
Yeah.
Africa, they will eat a lot of corn, by the way, East Africans. West Africans, they eat a lot of yams, taro roots, bananas, and all